In recent months, members of my administration and officials of the Committee for the Re-election of the President, including some of my closest friends and most trusted aides, have been charged with involvement in what has come to be known as the Watergate affair.
The Watergate affair began in June of 1972 with a break-in the offices of the Democratic National Committee in the Watergate apartment house. It became known very quickly that the people who broke in had some connection with the White House. Evidence came to light suggesting that the responsibility was quite high in the White House.
The president was involved.
I had no prior knowledge of the Watergate break-in. That was, and that is, the simple truth.
The pressure was such that I was named the special prosecutor.
He has been given, or will be given, full authority to investigate all aspects of the Watergate case itself.
Mr. Butterfield, are you aware of the installation of any listening devices in the Oval Office of the President?
I was aware of listening devices.
After a time, it became known there were tapes containing a record of all conversations in which President Nixon took part. As one White House staff person told me, if he wanted to discuss something really dirty, he'd take me into the kitchen.
I think I know what is on these tapes from having listened to some, and I can assure you that those tapes, they will prove that I had no knowledge whatever of the Watergate break-in.
Clearly, obtaining copies of the critical ones of those tapes would be the best evidence as to whether he had any knowledge of the break-in or the attempted cover-up. That raised two constitutional questions immediately. One was whether the president is subject to judicial process.
In any organization, the man at the top must bear the responsibility.
Second would be whether the tapes were covered by what was known as executive privilege.
This principle of confidentiality of presidential conversations is at stake in the question of these tapes. I must and I shall oppose any efforts to destroy this principle, which is so vital to the conduct of this great office.
The district court decided that the president, under these circumstances, was subject to judicial process, and that we had made enough of a showing of the relevance of 9 particular tapes to overturn any executive privilege. So the subpoena had been issued. The question was the president going to carry the case to the Supreme Court? Was he simply going to comply with the subpoena? Or what was he going to do?
If I were to make public these tapes, containing as they do blunt and candid remarks on many different subjects, the confidentiality of the office of the president would always be suspect from now on.
He announced that he was not going to comply with the subpoena.
That's enough.
And when I said I would continue to seek evidence using judicial procedures, he said I was fired. Elliot Richardson, the Attorney General, who alone had the power to write the letter dismissing me, resigned rather than do it. The Deputy Attorney General, Mr. William Ruckelshaus, also resigned.
I really had no recourse but to refuse to carry out the directive and to resign.
But Mr. Robert Bork became the next in line, the acting Attorney General, did fire me. as a result of the so-called Saturday Night Massacre, the people did, quote, rise up.
Mr. Sarbanes. Aye.
The Congress made clear that they rejected, wouldn't tolerate President Nixon's action.
The House Judiciary Committee has just approved its first article of impeachment against President Nixon.
And he was forced to comply with the subpoena because the ultimate resolution of the whole Watergate affair came with President Nixon's resignation.
I shall resign the presidency effective at noon tomorrow. Vice President Ford will be sworn in as president.
One of the principles which our British ancestors fought over, we have a government of laws and not of men, that even the highest officials are subject to law. But suppose the President of the United States says, I won't. What do? He's got the muscle. The people of the country have got to understand that the rule of law, the Constitution, is at stake in a sense. If they rise up morally, politically, the president really has no choice. He's going to have to comply. But if they don't, if they just sit on their hands, stand by, well then, what good is the law?